So His Majesty just claimed that America and the UK are the products of the same democratic, legal and social traditions and thus are inherently like-minded. Is he right? I think so. In fact, I may go further and say that America's foundational revolutionary values are British. The first thing to understand is something I don't think most Americans quite comprehend, and that is by the time of the American Revolution, England had already gone through centuries of radical historical transformations which created this unique liberal democratic Western world that we have today. This famously started with the Magna Carta of 1215, which established that everyone, including the monarch, is subject to the law. It didn't really stick, but then came the 16th century with the English Reformation, which laid the foundations of individual rights, religious toleration and free thought. And then came the English Civil War, where England became a republic for a few years. And then in 1688 came the Glorious Revolution, which really wasn't a revolution, but essentially became the start of capitalism, the start of private property rights, and it shifted power away from the crown to Parliament. And it is in this new liberal world that came John Locke, the English philosopher who wrote 2 treatises of government, which basically became the foundation of the American Revolution. The line, "Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness" from the US Declaration of Independence was almost directly plagiarized from John Locke. So was the idea that a government's legitimacy came from the people rather than from divinity, as well as the right of the people to overthrow a government if they breached the social contract. It was so important, Bradley Thompson wrote, that Locke's influence on American revolutionary thought was once considered hegemonic. Furthermore, Joshua Dienstag claimed that the founding fathers Jefferson and Adams followed Locke's social contract theory at a very high level of detail. In addition, the American revolutionaries were obsessed with imported English newspaper essays written by the English Old Whigs, the Progressive Party still transmitting the liberal ideas from the Glorious Revolution. Trenchard and Gordon beautifully put that these writings reminded the ex-English in America of their unfulfilled heritage of this century of revolution. Huxton wrote that these newspapers were one of the major means by which this libertarian tradition was transmitted from England to the colonies. And of course there's the whole English Protestant movement, which promoted individual interpretation of the Bible and freedom of religion.